welcome to the Cinema Dash. As always, I'm Gabs.
And I'm Deej.
And if you're wondering why this sounds a little different, it's because it's the first time ever we have a change of scenery that isn't in Deej's house.
Indeed.
Yeah, so this time, this episode's being recorded, it's brought to you by my basement. My basement. No one ever goes down there except for me and my brother, and that's it. So there's that. So, we saw a movie. We just gotta have a movie, yes? Correct?
Indeed.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And not only did me and Deej see it, but we saw it with my brother again. So my brother's here for the second review in a row.
Hello! It's me again! You thought you couldn't get enough of me, but you know what? You already did.
I'm immediately regretting the decision to let him into the recording and also watch the movie anyway. So, Paul, how you doing?
I'm trying to open this beer, but I can't because
It's a twist bottle, you moron.
I know, but my dainty female hands
Give me
can't do it. Oh wow, he did it!
Oh shit.
Wow, good for you.
What do you think I got these scars on my hand for, moron?
Yeah.
There you go, too.
Wow, those some scars.
I got like 3 of them. Anyway.
I'm just this recording is brought to you by Land Shark Lager. Land Shark.
Oh, speaking of
Sharks can't be on
sponsorships.
land.
Speaking of sponsorships.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's a good thing you brought that up because I got a list of sponsorships right here on my phone.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm just gonna give some sponsorships right here.
Yeah.
So not only did Paul just ask Land Shark, a pretty good summer beer, to sponsor us, I would welcome that sponsorship.
Land Shark, if you're listening,
Yeah.
shoot us a sponsor.
Yeah, you're pretty
That's
cool.
Pretty good.
Use code CinemaDash to get 5% off your first case of
That's not
Land
true.
Shark.
That's not true.
You're not sure it's 7% off.
So anyway, the sponsorships for this episode. Sponsor number 1. Cinema Dash is sponsored to you in part by WB Basin, otherwise known as Waterboard. It's the guy who comes and just waterboards everyone.
I'd buy that for $1.
Hey!
Sponsorship number 2. Cinema Dash is brought to you in part by Tostitos. Anyway. Finally, the last but not least, the last sponsorship here. The Cinema Dash is brought to you in part by those things that the girls sit on. That gives them the pleasure. Yeah.
Oh, Danny's dildos.
No, not those. No,
Is it Deej's face?
No, it's like that half circle thing, and there's like a little bumpy thing on top of it. There's like a name for it, but I forgot.
Oh, I saw that on Howard Stern show once.
Yeah, he uses it sometimes. Anyway, this episode is brought to you by that thing, whatever it's called.
Also, Howard, if you're watching,
Also-
which I know you are, go home.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this at home, I don't know.
Anyway,
Howard Stern, I have a personal grudge against you.
so yes, that comes.
Oh, we can't forget our last sponsor, though.
Yeah.
You always forget this last sponsor.
What's the last sponsor?
Thank you to RoxyClean.
RoxyClean.
RoxyClean, keep your rocks clean.
RoxyClean.
RoxyClean.
Don't forget about boxes. Don't forget.
Oh god.
Anyway, and staplers.
You sure want to start this over again?
No, this is pretty good so far.
This is shit.
Alright, if you insist.
It's shit, but like it's good shit.
Alright.
Anyway.
I'd like to start off with a silly question.
Okay.
What's your silly question, Paul?
The silly question was, okay, before we were talking about Disney movies, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about our least favorite ones. I said my least favorite was Little Mermaid. Deej, you said yours was
Pocahontas 2.
Pocahontas 2, Escape to Africa. And Anthony, you said
I said Brother Bear.
you said Brother Bear.
Electric
Yes.
Boogaloo.
Yeah, Brother Bear. Okay. So my question is, like, of those 3 movies, which one, in your guys' opinion, would be the worst to lose your virginity while watching?
Brother
Bear.
Why not
Absolutely.
Pocahontas 2?
I don't know, dude.
Because at least
Because Pocahontas 2 had like a happy ending in the first one.
What?
What'd you say?
Little Mermaid.
I don't know. I feel like Little Mermaid would probably be the easiest one to do.
Why? Because there's like
Because I don't know.
suggestive
When she
imagery.
sings that sad song about how she wants legs, that'd be great to
like I can put like
bump
between your
uglies
legs.
to. That'd be great to frog your bitch to, you know?
But you're saying Brother Bear when the bears cry. That's that's not good.
Not when the bears cry. It's when the bear turns back into a human.
Brother Bear 2.
Only after telling the other bear that he killed the other bear.
So wait, is that like the 3rd Brother Bear movie? Brother Bear 3,
No,
When
it's-
Bears Cry?
No,
I think there were sequels.
Is that the Prince?
No,
is that
the
the
first
cover of
bear,
Prince?
Brother Bear movie was just that.
Remember that one movie with Christopher Walken about the singing bears?
We Bear.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
You remember
in
that?
places. I've never seen it.
Bears?
I really
I've
want.
seen of it.
I really hope they did a Prince cover called "When Bears Cry" instead of "When Doves Cry."
The Bare
Oh, sorry.
Necessities.
The bare
Hey,
necessities.
you guys want to figure out how retarded I am? So when I typed in Brother Bear on IMDb, I typed in brother like normally and then BAIR because I can't think today.
Bear.
Yeah. There's Brother Bear 1 and 2. There was a sequel, and then there's a video game.
So you can witness me crying in the movie theater at age 5 all over again.
It has the original
Is that
voice
Elijah
cast.
Wood in Brother Bear?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's also, he's in the video game. And so is Michael Clark Duncan as Tug. But anyway, that's not what we're here
The
for.
movie really
tonight,
tugged
folks.
at my heartstrings.
Yeah. So
Nailed
the
it.
movie we're here to discuss and talk about and review is a new Christopher Nolan cinematic masterpiece, Dunkirk. Now,
Yeah, we reviewed Big Ol' C. Nolan on our channel before.
yeah, with Interstellar with Peter Aiden. Peter Aiden. This show is also not brought to you by Peter Aiden. He can go fuck himself. Anyway, I don't care how many times he's not on this show. I will make fun of him every episode until we get him back. Anyway,
Be sure to
So-
subscribe to Theoretical Swagger.
yes,
Quick question.
subscribe to Theoretical.
Here's a theoretical question.
Yeah,
What would happen if Peter Aiden became the Pope?
I don't think it's possible.
Really? What if Peter Aiden just turned his life around and became a cardinal in the
I
Vatican?
feel like they would need a wider Vatican.
It's very mean.
That's mean.
No, Peter appreciates it. He knows what I mean.
Peter does not know what you mean. In fact, I might have to cut that out later.
No, he knows what I mean.
Anyway, so Dunkirk. If you went to school, his name would be just Kirk Dunn, and so it would just be the other way around. Anyway, so that's when you're looking at.
Yeah, I'm
it's-
really considering Paul's offer to restart this.
No,
I don't know, man.
we're running through this episode. It's the last goddamn thing I do in my entire night. Anyway, so what the fuck's this movie about, Deej?
Dunkirk is about the event that happened to Dunkirk. And during World War II, where 400,000 British soldiers were stranded on the beaches of Dunkirk.
You know what the worst part about this is? I didn't realize it was World War II until he just told me.
What do you think it was World War
I thought it was World War One, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not even
Why?
gonna lie to you. I thought that too when I first saw the movie, but then I looked at the planes they were flying, and I was like, okay, this is.
The only reason I thought it might have been World War One is because of the hats they were wearing.
Oh yeah, because the
Because it
tin
looks
hats.
like those infantry, like those like dome-shaped
Yeah.
caps, as opposed to like the rounder.
As you can tell by our confusion, there's little to no story in this movie whatsoever. So
Well, I mean, I wouldn't. That's not. Us being confused isn't a fault of like the movie's lacking a story.
Well, it's not like we were confused. We were just confused about the time period.
Yeah.
Not the film.
I'm
itself.
confused about everything in this movie, to be honest with you. Even though this is a very nice looking movie,
Well, I mean, like we all agreed, like walking out of the movie, that
this is definitely good.
no, it's definitely good, but this movie definitely functions as,
Function.
in a way, British propaganda. Like, just
Yeah.
pro-patriot British, like, rah-rah stuff. Which is fine, because it's well done.
No,
so-
we got a lot of that shit in our country too. You know.
Yeah, ours is just usually, like, really ham-fisted.
Oh yeah.
Then again, like...
Can we not get political on this show? Like, this is the least most.
No, we're not. We're not getting like political. We're just talking about like the way that United States military films are.
Alright, but I swear to God, if I hear the T word that I didn't want to use.
Titties?
Sure.
Topeka. Tapioca.
Tadpole.
How about the T word? Our sponsor, Tostitos. Tostitos.
Tostitos.
Tostitos. All right.
Tostitos, everybody.
Anyway, so continue with your propaganda bullshit.
It's not propaganda bull. It's just that, like, all right. I remember I took a class in college on propaganda and propaganda films, and we had to do a report where we basically took a movie that explored the themes of propaganda in American culture. And I chose Captain America, which apparently no one else chose, which I thought was...
Stupid.
I thought it was stupid that no one even thought of it.
Really, there's a whole sequence dedicated to.
Literally, not one sequence. Half of the movie, the movie's as propaganda as it gets.
I would say the whole
It's called Captain
Yeah,
America.
I would think the first Captain America movie is like the propaganda movie out of like all like. I know how like Marvel does all their different like movies and they're like, all different genres. If you really look down on it, I think Captain America is the propaganda movie. I think we even said
Of
that
the
in our-
40s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But-
I think we even said that in our review, to be honest. But
But as I was saying, is like, So I remember like I was talking about that, and it's just like, yeah, you could see it with like the songs and just the red, white, the whole color scheme's red, white, and blue, and it's very ham-fisted because it's just like literally Captain America punches Hitler.
What does the term ham-fist even mean?
It means just
Not
like,
only do you not have a fistful of ham, but now I'm very hungry.
the ham-fisted came from a time back in the day when Southern farmers would fist their pigs. No, it just means like heavy-handed, dude. Like it just means like obvious and.
Well, now that you got an old prospector in my mind fisting a pig, and I can't get that out of my head, or the viewers for that matter.
Oh yeah, Bessie.
Oink. Oink. But the point I'm trying to get at is like with propaganda films, like there's a way to do it where there's tact and, you know, there's a sense of cinematography as opposed to an advertisement essentially. And I feel like American propaganda films tend to not be as subtle with that. Look at American Sniper. It's like
I didn't
I
see
hate
it.
that movie.
I didn't see it.
the movie's fine. Like it's not bad.
Was Bradley Cooper nominated for that movie? I forgot.
Yeah,
so
he was.
Okay.
Like the movie's not bad, but the truth of the matter is like it is like the American flag itself masturbates to that film. Like I'm pretty sure like eagles mate to the sounds of that soundtrack. Like it's what it is. So like point being is like yeah, but then when you look at Dunkirk, it's pretty tasteful with how it's done, but it is still really British. And we even talked about that walking out, how like its overly Britishness is almost a detriment at times, especially for American audiences.
Not only do you like the British, but you guys gotta enunciate sometimes, my dudes. You just come on. Anyway,
Oh, like the Brits?
yeah, the Brits gotta enunciate.
I think that's just the dialect, man.
I know, but like it's like you and like, we all agreed in the car that there were just some times where we didn't understand a word they were saying,
Yeah.
so we kind of get lost in that too. And I know this like most of the time I'm just saying insults to the movie and stuff that's bad with it, but I generally like the movie. I think we all agree that we can give this that this was a very good movie,
Yeah.
at least a good one.
I saw it actually once before.
Yeah.
When we this is my second time seeing it, and I did like it the second time. I did like it more the second time around than I did the first time.
So you caught more the second time?
I caught more. I definitely caught more stuff, and also like, I just, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like, yeah, I did definitely catch more the second time around, and I just had a greater appreciation for it, I guess.
Okay.
So why don't we start with
The
stuff we-
positives.
Yeah, we're gonna start with stuff we like.
Positives, then we go to the negatives, then we talk about other miscellaneous bullshit. Then we give the review.
Yeah. So I mean, probably the best thing about this movie, I think, in my opinion, is at least it's definitely a technical marvel. Mm-hmm. But that honestly, when you go into a Christopher Nolan movie, you kind of have to expect that at this point. The man makes the most technologically adept films nowadays. Mm-hmm. He's at least one of the directors.
Didn't you say, or one of you two told me that like he wasn't very like technology forward?
Oh yeah, he's a fucking Luddite in real life.
Yeah, he like supposedly fucking writes letters by candlelight and shit.
Mm-hmm. Which, like, come on, like.
Which is it's kind of weird though, because the man makes like the most technologically advanced films nowadays, and he's like a Luddite in real life. Like he doesn't use his cell phone. He barely emails. He wears like the same 7 pairs of clothes all the time. Like, did you ever see that? Like, apparently his wife was saying that like his entire closet is.
This is Nolan
Or Emma Thomas is his wife.
He's married to Emma Thomas?
No, well, not like the actress Emma Thomas, like the producer Emma Thomas.
Yeah, who also produced this film?
Yeah,
Huh.
She produces all of his movies.
Yeah.
I mean, he usually co-produces his movies with his brother as well.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a family business.
But yeah, like they were interviewing his wife or something, and then she was like, "Yeah, he has 7 pairs of black suit jackets, blue dress shirts, black dress pants, and like that's like his whole wardrobe."
Huh. So
It's like
I'm looking at
he
all these
lives in
pictures
such,
here,
like-
and she's exactly right. All I'm seeing is the same 7 pairs of shoes and pants and shirts.
I mean, come
Oh
to
my
think of
God.
it, like when I think of Christopher Nolan,
That's all you see.
that's
him
all
in,
I
right?
see was the black, like the jacket and then the blue shirt.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Like I haven't noticed that in like any kind of medium that makes fun of him or pokes fun at him, where like all he does is just wear the same things over and over again. You just don't notice it.
Yeah.
They don't point it out. I feel like that'd be something that they would make fun of him with. Anyway, yes, I agree that this is a technically very excellent movie. I would even say near perfect technically. My question though is, can a technically good movie also be a bad movie?
I'm sure there's been examples
yeah,
of that.
absolutely. I mean,
But then again, it's bad films are objective, you know,
well,
or
it's
subjective.
there's a difference between like was it good or bad, and like did you enjoy it or did you dislike it?
Is there a technically good movie that's also bad? That's bad that everyone agrees that that's the case?
I feel like a perfect example is something like Eyes Wide Shut. It is like a technically sound film. Like
That's Kubrick, isn't it?
yeah, it's that.
Yeah, I don't like that
Isn't
movie at
that
all.
his like last one or something like that? Yeah.
But like most people would say, that it's not a particularly good film. Like it's just not that enjoyable. It's like kind of fucked up, like it's very weird, very Kubrick, if you will. But that's just like an example that came to mind. I actually don't mind that movie. But
Yeah, I don't like that movie at all.
That's fair.
So yeah, I guess
The only thing about that movie I know is it's Tom Cruise and you get to see Nicole Kidman shirtless. Or is that Nicole Kidman or someone else?
yeah, it's Nicole
I-
Kidman.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like orgies.
Hell
It's a
yeah.
cult.
Can I get a hell yeah?
I mean, if you're into the kid, man.
Oh, I wouldn't say it like that anymore. Anyway, what else? What are other?
Yeah, I'm trying to
positives?
think of like examples of like a technically amazing movie that's like
That's bad.
bad.
It's all agreed upon as being bad.
I think
I guess like the Transformers movies, right?
I would. I mean, maybe the first one, but like.
No, but just like in general, like
most
the visual
recent one,
effects
though?
in that movies are like throwing out all characters, story, anything to do with like a narrative or like the content of the movie.
If you watch the first Transformers movie and you like pay attention to actually like how they transform, there is like a legitimate like attention to detail in terms of like the parts of the robots that come about and like how they talk and how they move and shit like that. But like, dude, by the time it hit like 3, it's just you're crinkling a tin can and like just it gets really
And you
shitty.
know what that reminds me of? Remember in the dentist office, they had like the screensavers that turn from like the ball to the cube to like the spiky thing
Yeah.
and all back. It reminds me of that.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. Yeah. That is like dentist office,
Yeah.
and like random offices and
Yeah,
stuff.
you just slowly just turn to more and more like the dentist office screensaver.
Yeah.
Well, like just in terms of like Michael Bay, like and really any Michael Bay movie, in all honesty, like in terms of like characters, story, anything to do with the content or narrative of the movie, it's pretty fucking shit. But when you look at like the visual effects or the not the cinematography, but like the visual effects and like and stuff like that, like it's in the sound design. They're technically
Oh.
like sound movies.
I have a good
I'm
one.
gonna say-
I have
I
a
think
good example. A perfect example. You just talked about it on the most recent one-off.
Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Alien Covenant. Absolutely, Alien Covenant. That movie's fucking shit, but it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, like you said, it was like
Oh yeah, the cinematography is out of this fucking world. The visual effects are fantastic. The sound design is marvelous. But everybody in that movie's a goddamn idiot. That movie could have been over in the first 5 minutes, and the story was just dog shit. And how a xenomorph is created is also dog shit.
We had a thing for that, like when I was back in school, where we would talk about like movies and say just like one of the biggest, in my opinion, and a lot of my friends agreed with this, a lot of them disagreed, that one of the biggest insults you could say to a film is like, well, it was shot well, or like, well, you know, or like, what's another example? Or like, well, all the shots were composed decently, or like, the editing was fine. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, if a movie is amazing, it's gonna have that by default. Even if a movie sucks, it could still be quote unquote like shot well, or have a good composition, or you know, shit like that. Just visual engineering. So I don't know. I think it's one of those things, and I think Dunkirk kind of like enters that gray area in terms of like visually and technically, it is really something to behold, especially considering everything was practical. It was all shot on like film, like actual film, like 70 millimeter at that point. Which also brings up another interesting thing, because like, nah, I guess we could leave that. I have a thing I want to hold on to about the 70 millimeter for the
I got you, fam.
for the negatives.
I got you, fam. Don't worry about it. You can remind me later to tell you. Yeah.
I do think a bad movie could have some type of technical expertise. I mean,
I agree. I mean, even though I'm the one asking, I agree with that. Yeah, the one other thing too was that even though we did see this at our local movie theater, the one that we've grown up to go to, we can agree that this probably is a good movie, probably one of the better movies to see in IMAX.
oh yeah, absolutely.
This would have been a really good movie to see in IMAX.
We got the plebeian viewing.
Yeah. No, but I just like the one thing I was like, some of the shots are absolutely amazing. Like the one sequence or some of the even sequences too are absolutely phenomenal. The one part more toward the end where all the town boats are coming in, and all the soldiers are seeing that seeing them all like coming in. And you see like the general using like the binoculars. Thank you. To see them all, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on over there?" He's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Home." And then it's all the people coming in. He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, the music's like swelling and stuff like that.
It's like one of those like Braveheart moments, or like really any kind of like motivational thing.
Yeah.
Or like inspiring.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I get it.
Where like, you just see all these things, you're like, oh, I mean that makes your heart warm up a little bit. You get all that patriotism in there. It's real fun.
Yeah, part of you like kind of was like, you know what? I'm gonna go home and have a glass of tea.
Like fuck yeah, well, there's a thing of tea and crumpets right now.
No, yeah,
Some
I get
fish
it.
and chips.
I do agree that some of the shots in this movie were absolutely fantastic, and I think the 70mm definitely benefited from that, because in personal taste, like in my personal taste, I feel like a movie looks better when it's shot on like film. Don't get me wrong, there are some beautiful digital movies out there. Digital is here to stay, like obviously, and like film is like slowly dying out, which kind of sucks. But digital is really just the main way we shoot movies nowadays, and that's completely fine. Digital has a lot of benefits to it, but there's really nothing like that classic film look that 70mm and 16mm gives you, or 35mm gives you. You know?
Yeah.
And I do think that this movie does have some excellent shots with the 70mm, but you and me were talking about this in the car about the negatives, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But for the most part, the cinematography I think is fantastic, and the next thing I wanted to bring up actually was the sound design in this movie as well.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time they cut back to the plane battle or the dogfights with Tom Hardy and the other guy, and also when the planes would like swoop in and attack the guys on the beach, I got like fucking chills.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like that was incredible.
People in the theater, like I was looking around, like my eyes were glued. I was like kind of like leaning back in my seat. People were like cringing, not in the bad way, like in the actual like legitimate like fear.
Yeah.
Like it really impacted you.
Yeah, the sound design for the plane swooping in was phenomenal. Like that, it really gave you the sense of like whenever the actors and all the extras would like look up at the plane, they would be like, "Oh fuck, like we're gonna die." Like I felt that too. Like I was like again like cringing in my seat.
I think that's a testament not only to the sound design but to Nolan's directing.
Oh yeah,
because the fact that he could like have that much control of a crowd and his individual actors, like you need to emote in this way, and you need to make sure like that plane is gonna kill you. You're about to die. You're already basically dead. And, like you really felt it.
The other thing is like, didn't they actually use like the planes, some of the planes, like models of the same planes from World War II?
Yeah, they used planes. They used live destroyers too, which was
I heard
incredible.
about that. Yeah.
A lot of practical stuff.
It's like Christopher Nolan pulls off shit that only Christopher Nolan can pull off in this movie.
Yeah, like in Dark Knight Rises when he fucking rips a plane in half midair.
Or when he flips
which is ridiculous in itself.
In Dark Knight when he flips a fucking truck forward.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
It's like that shot still baffles me, like how he fucking flipped the whole thing.
Oh, I love watching that fucking shot, like that little like pause before it happens, and then just like the boom. When you watch it on like a nice,
it takes out an entire like.
You watch on like a nice
bridge.
HDTV, it's so cool.
And that's what I really like about Christopher Nolan. That's why I think I see with my whole thing with Christopher Nolan is that I do think he's slightly overrated, but in the sense that he can make just so many compelling shots in his movies. Like what you said, like Christopher Nolan can only pull off shit that like Christopher Nolan can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you watch a Christopher Nolan, you're gonna expect some like cool ass shit. And if you go through his entire filmography, you can really pinpoint scenes in which he does that. Dark Knight with the flipping the whole truck over. Interstellar, that whole black hole sequence or that docking sequence. There's two in Interstellar. In this movie,
Literally anything.
in this movie.
Almost anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and like
I think Inception. I think like when the city folds on itself.
yeah, when the city folds on itself is badass. Or the hallway scene where the hallways rotate.
Oh, yeah,
They
yeah.
actually built a whole hallway set to rotate.
Oh, yeah.
In like midair, which is so awesome.
You know what? Actually, that brings up an interesting point because don't hear me out on this. Did it seem to you guys like Dunkirk? Like, don't mind like extras, but in terms of like effects and sets, it was all very simple. Like, if you think about it, it was really the beach, the boats,
The air,
the dock,
the ocean,
the ocean.
the planes.
Yeah, like in terms of like locations, you really don't. You're in Dunkirk the whole
It
time.
sounds simple, but when you actually have to make the movie, it's like, oh wait.
I feel like you can assess that from two different angles. Like from a film standpoint, it's like, all right, well, you know, you only have these like very basic sets, but I think it works to the benefit of the movie because like, well, before I say that, like the second way you can assess this is like a historical point of view, because like Dunkirk did only take place on like a beach and in the sea and on a couple of like very claustrophobic boats.
Yeah.
So it's not like Nolan had like much to work with when trying to adapt this event onto the big screen. It's not like he was gonna like, well, and there was like in the beginning with like that little part of the city, but like, you know, it's not like he had much to work with. But what I think he did work with, but what he did work with, I think that it was used effectively in a sense. So like, yeah. I mean, I do think he used location effectively.
I'm not saying it's a detriment to the film. I'm just saying that like it's interesting to me how like he got so much mileage out of like relatively few locations.
Exactly.
And believe me, like I know. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
sorry.
Believe me, like I know how like much of a pain in the ass it is to shoot around the ocean where it's windy as fuck and you hear waves crashing. I know how hard it is to shoot when, especially like on the water. Like that's ridiculous. Like trying to keep a camera steady while your boat's rocking so much. Like. I'm sure you've all seen home movies of you guys like jumping in the water off a boat and it's just like
Go.
You know?
Go to the water. Oh,
and you just hear
he's drowning. Oh no. Great. Perfect jokes. Anyway, perfect execution. The one thing I like too is that when they're on the small boats, it's like small town boats. It's like it doesn't feel claustrophobic on there. Really.
Yeah.
It doesn't it feels very open. Like I believe that all those people fit on that boat. Do I like if I saw the boat in real life, I probably wouldn't. But like this like the one thing I want to just like I don't think we ever saw anything outside like the main parts of the boat. Like there's the where the wheel was, behind the wheel, like outside the back, like where the rotor is, underneath. Well, you never got to look up on the top part of the boat, like where the sail is or anything. So there's all that.
Well, I mean, you mean the guy
like sometimes the sun would go on top of the boat in the front, in front of the wheel. Like we never went to go with him. We only saw him in the background of if like the dad was steering the boat.
I mean, if I
which only means the boat's that much bigger.
I mean, I think it's more like the boat itself was probably a set. And if I had to take a guess, I would say the boat was either a set or if they were that dedicated, the boat was actually probably just a bit bigger than they made it seem just because that's a lot of equipment to like shoot a scene on there. Like there's no way that was like, an actual commercial like that,
Like it's not like it's such a small boat you can't really like fit
I would assume it was something they built to be a bit bigger or was a set or something. If I had to take a guess. But honestly, it's Nolan, so he might have actually just fucking did it.
What about some of the people who were in this movie?
Honestly, there's not really that much to say about them. Because like we were saying before, like this movie's more about the event than the characters of the story. But I will say though, Nolan really knows how to like I don't know if you guys ever watched this, but there's an Every Frame of Painting on Akira Kurosawa. Have you ever seen that?
I think I've seen it. Yeah.
There's Every Frame of Painting is a video essayist on YouTube, and he did one video about how Akira Kurosawa uses crowds and reactions in his movies. I think Nolan took a little bit of inspiration from Akira Kurosawa because most of the acting in this movie is done in crowds.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, most of the acting in this movie is done in crowds, and it's spectacular. Just the way that you could see every single distinct emotion on a person's face as like a plane is hurtling towards them, or they're jumping off the side of a destroyer that's being sunk. I think that's fantastic. But in terms of the individual people we focus on, I do think Cillian Murphy gave a solid performance. And like he was okay. I mean, you didn't really get to see much of him, but from what we did see, I think it was fine. I thought Tom Hardy was. I think Tom Hardy gave the best performance of the movie because not only did Tom Hardy have pretty much the entirety of his face covered, but I think he gave such a great performance just with the use of his eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that's what I really like about how Christopher Nolan utilizes.
Tom Hardy has pretty eyes, don't you?
I think Tom Hardy's a pretty man. All right, let's be real here.
I would kiss him, but like no more than that.
no more than that.
I give
But
He's at work.
that's what I really like about.
Yeah.
That's what I really like about Tom Hardy whenever he works with Christopher Nolan is because if you've noticed in in 2 of the 3 movies that Tom Hardy's been in with Christopher Nolan, he's had a mask on. Dark Knight Rises, he plays Bane and he has a mask on the whole time. And in this movie, he has a mask on the whole time. So it really forces.
He should have his mask off.
But no, and like that's really a testament to how well Nolan can direct because in both of those movies, while Tom Hardy does talk in both of them, the real performance that he gives is with the use of his eyes. Because if you notice in Dark Knight Rises, there's a lot of like distinct close-ups on Tom Hardy, and like you could tell when he's angry or when he's frightened or when he's like when he's got a lot of adrenaline rushing through him. And in this movie, you could tell he's like got the shit scared out of him because he's the only one left in the air after his partner has to land in the ocean and the leader gets shot down. So like there's a lot of stakes, and pretty much the entirety of the movie he's trying to shoot down a bomber or 2 bombers that are trying to take out the civilian boats and also this destroyer. So like with his eye performance, for lack of a better term, it really conveys the fact that he's in a shit situation and he has to do his best to make sure he can save all these people. Yeah, that's my rant on Tom Hardy in this movie.
No, but yeah, like
rant.
I think it's interesting to mention though the characters because I've heard a big complaint about this movie is that there's no characters to latch on to and that the plot is sort of like you're just seeing what happened there.
Yeah.
I would kind of disagree with that only because like if you viewed this movie as like the view from the land, sea, and air of what happened at Dunkirk from that first soldier who I'm looking up right now, Theon Whitehead was the guy's name? Mm-hmm. The like kind of first soldier we're like with and we see him throughout the entirety of the movie.
He's pretty much like the main character, I would say. Because he gets the most screen time.
For the most part, yeah. I think it's fair to say he's the main character. Or like you if there was someone for like the audience to latch on to as like a representative of themselves, it would be him. Because he gets through the entirety of it. He sees pretty much everything. Mm-hmm. And then there's the people on the father and his son on the boat, and then obviously like Tom Hardy and the other guy in the air. And if you view it as kind of like that, like this is like the land, sea, and air perspective, I think that works in terms of characters. Like it's almost like the perspective itself is the character as opposed to like the character inhibiting that perspective. Like, do you kind of get where I'm saying with that?
No, yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
I that's just how I'm kind of viewing it because like if you think about it, it's like what was that kid's name?
I don't think they said his name.
George?
His name, according to IMDb, is Tommy. Now I don't think that was ever stated.
Yeah.
Do you know Tom Hardy's character's name?
Yeah, they said it, but
they said it like real quick, but I don't really.
George?
No, George was the 17-year-old kid, right?
Yeah.
The one that
the only name I remember.
It was Gordon.
No, it was George.
Was it George?
Yeah, it was George.
George.
Because it said it in the paper in his obituary.
Yeah.
George Mills was his full name, but
yeah,
he said George at the T, and I'm like, George.
Hero at Dunkirk, man. Even though he didn't actually get there.
Really, I think the only person that actually got character development in this movie was Harry Styles' character.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, he goes off as, like, he comes off like, in the beginning of the movie when you see him for the first time, he gets knocked off this, the medic ship the medic boat, right?
The rescue
and
boat.
The rescue boat. And he swims up and he's like, hey guys, what's up? And he's all friendly with them. And then just like when they're in this very claustrophobic boat, he just like snaps and becomes this like, okay, we gotta survive now, and I don't fucking care how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna survive. And he starts like pointing guns at people and starting to kick people off the boat and shit like that. And then at the end, he becomes this like very morose, depressed character. He's like, yeah, we couldn't save everybody. We couldn't. They're gonna spit in our faces when we get home. We're a disgrace to the king and the queen and shit like that. And then he's all happy at the end because that's not the case. Everybody was like welcoming all these soldiers home with open arms.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, I feel like he's the only character in this movie that kind of got like a shred of character development.
Yeah,
in a sense.
Well, he was the most dynamic character, definitely.
Yeah.
And also, can we talk about how that was fucking Harry Styles?
Yeah. I remember when they announced that, everyone was like, "Oh, this is gonna be like some kind of cash grab to get girls in the seats," even though like no girls are gonna. I don't think.
I haven't seen anybody talk about this. That's like a One Direction fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, like, my sister went to go see it because she's like a One Direction fan and stuff like that, or she just likes Harry Styles. I don't think she's a One Direction fan. But she was like, yeah, I went in to go see Harry Styles, and I left seeing a great World War II movie, and I was like, oh, cool.
Wow, your sister has a sense of like, dignity.
Your sister can think.
Yeah, your sister
Critical think.
No, it was actually really interesting because like I was up at home.
That you know what? I kind of want to like hear her opinion on that now.
Yeah, it was really interesting because like I was home and like I was on my computer, I was doing stuff, and she walks in and she was like, "Aunt, did you see Dunkirk yet?" And I was like, "Nah, I didn't get a chance to see it yet." And she was like, "It's interesting because like I didn't think I would feel this way because I went in, I just wanted to see like Harry Styles because I think he's very attractive and like I like his music and stuff like that, so I wanted to like see him and stuff."
Oh, would you let him kiss you on the mouth?
Harry Styles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is pretty attractive, I will say.
I mean, I would do it just because it's Harry Styles.
Would you let him fuck you?
No.
Oh, okay. He has to work for that too. More or less than Tom Hardy. Would you say that Tom Hardy is a hard...
They both got to put some serious effort
So
in.
Hardy doesn't have a hard time having to...
I want the both of them to fight.
Tom Hardy was in a movie like that. Where like Chris Pine and Tom Hardy were like two secret agents, and they meet Reese Witherspoon, and they have to like, and they're like playing more elaborate ways to kill each other so they can have her.
I slightly remember that
I think it's
movie.
called This Means War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy.
It was Tom Hardy.
They were like spies.
Yeah, but this was like when Tom Hardy was like still trying to make a name for himself.
Tom Hardy was just looking for a paycheck.
Yeah. And then he was in Dark Knight Rises, and then his career just.
Yeah.
Was it that or was it he was in like this one other movie.
I have a feeling
it wasn't Bronson.
No.
Bronson's fucking boring movie.
Bronson was great.
I can sit through Bronson.
Oh, I love
it. It was
Bronson.
so boring.
That's the same guy who did.
Locke was very good though.
Locke was fantastic.
I love Locke.
Locke was so good.
You ever seen any of these movies?
I didn't see either of those movies.
You gotta check Locke. You gotta check
Locke is him is just him driving in a car making phone calls to his family and his company that he works for.
Yep.
That's the entire movie.
And it's incredible.
And it's so weird how like it's just the whole movie is only him in the car. He's only on camera. He's only in the car. That's it. Maybe at the end of the movie he gets out of the car, and that's it.
How long is this movie?
Like an hour and a half.
Huh.
It's an hour and a half of
thrilling.
It is, yeah. For someone, I would consider me like the thing with me and Deej here is that like Deej more film fucking, I'm more stupid idiot fucking guy in the seats. For the stupid idiot guy in the seats, like this is really fucking cool movie. Only because like it's just him in a seat. It's him sitting and driving, and he's making phone calls. You can't get any simpler than that. But somehow that simple idea was that fucking good.
It's because of three things. It's Tom Hardy's incredible performance. It's the writing, which is spectacular, and the direction. Really. I mean, there's not much in the way of cinematography or editing.
You told me to watch it. You actually gave me a list of movies to watch, and that was like one of them.
You know what? I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, there's not much in the way of like cinematography or editing because he's in a car the whole movie. So like, what can you do? How can you make like such a dynamic shot?
It's just like pans and stuff, really. Like from one shot, one side.
Yeah, there's a couple of like aerial shots every once in a while, but
it kind of breaks it up too. Like sometimes it'll take like a couple of seconds like out of the car where you just see like shots of the car going.
Yeah, and like those aerial shots like symbolize like passage of time or whatever. But like
he drives all day, which is the other thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a slick movie. I have to say, it's not bad.
Other than jerking off that movie,
Yeah, back to Dunkirk.
the one thing I want to say in this movie too, just to go away from like actors and whatnot, it's the one thing I didn't realize in the beginning of the movie that I realized more at the end was when they were saying like by land, by sea, by air, it was like every time it was on land, that took a week. That was like a week long in terms of the film. In terms of, and by sea, that took a day. In terms of the air, that was an hour. That whole time, the whole movie, the hour was like, there was like an only, like the story of the people in the air was another hour, was like just an hour. The people in the boat was just a day.
Oh, I thought it was like it took an hour by air to get there.
I mean, like either that or it was, I mean, I don't think it took a week.
Yeah, because some dude broke the world record for swimming across the English Channel in a day.
I don't think it takes a week.
No, but
they said they could see it from all the way over there.
No, but it said like by boat it was like a day to get there.
The other thing is like because there was like so many people, like so many soldiers waiting to get picked up and brought home that like I believe that and it said that took a week. I believe that could have taken a week. Then you get the people on the boat going from some small town in the UK, going to Dunkirk to go pick up a couple of soldiers out of those tens of thousands. I believe that took a day. Then it's just the people flying around the airplanes, shooting down other people in airplanes, and also trying to protect the people going back on boats. That I believe took an hour.
Okay, I see.
I think it's like that.
That's what I thought was the case. I think we're on the same page then.
I believe it would take like an hour anyway because I think they said it themselves in the movie that like they could see like home from where they were.
No, I think that was more symbolic. Like you couldn't actually see it, but it was very close. Like they showed a little map in the beginning. Like it's still pretty damn close to England.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Does that pretty much wrap up everything we like about the movie? Or do you have any more subtle things?
it's the takeaways from that is that it's a very technically impressive movie. Mm-hmm. The direction's really good. The acting for the most part is pretty solid.
I would say the direction was probably like my favorite takeaway in terms of positives.
You know, I was actually having this discussion with a bunch of friends from school, like maybe 2 weeks ago. What would you say, like? You know how like people say like, oh, the editing in this movie was great, or like the cinematography was great. Like you can tell those are like tangible things you can see on the screen.
Yeah.
How would you say like, oh, this movie was directed so well? How would you say that?
Honestly, it's kind of just the dynamics of what you're seeing, and by dynamics I mean like when you. That's a good example. Okay, wait. There was a. Okay, perfect example. So, on the boat in Dunkirk, there was the scene where Cillian Murphy's character's there, and he's all shell-shocked, and they're like, okay, we should probably... The kid is thinking, maybe I should just lock him in, like, the other room so that way he doesn't, like, cause any shit. And before you know the character is thinking that, you see the lock on the door, and it's sort of like a bit of a Chekhov's gun, like, oh, it's being addressed sort of thing. That is like shot composition. That's more or less Nolan saying like I want that shot. And then once you kind of see like the kids sort of look at it and then look at like Cillian, it's like in the script it might say that whatever the kid's name was, looks at Cillian's character, but when it's translated onto film, it's Nolan who's saying, I don't want you to just look at it. Like I'm gonna have the camera this way, so when you look at it, you need to look at him in this way. So when you see the interpretation of what is essentially like a skeleton to a full-fledged being, that to me is direction. Therefore, when I say this movie has good direction, it's like I can see what was on paper and I see like his vision of it and how he translated it, which is why I say like in my opinion this movie, my best takeaway is the direction hands down. Because the sound design was fantastic, don't get me wrong. And like cinematography is great, but really it's like you could tell he clearly took a lot of love and care into everything that happened here. It's very much a like I don't want to use a too fucky of a term, but clearly it showed his auteur chops, if you know what I'm saying.
I know what auteur means, you fucking dunce.
I know. I hate using that word because it's like
artois. Yeah, I don't like the word artois.
Artois. Like,
Isn't that how you say
isn't
it?
that Stella Artois like the beer?
Artois?
How about just twerp?
Well, Artois just means,
Artois.
person who's full of themselves.
Art douche. Okay, I would say that's a pretty
I
like.
agree with that. Yeah.
What, that Artois means someone who's full of themselves, or just my...
Well, no, you're both really, but
Not only is that word for the people who are full of themselves, but that you are full of yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Wholeheartedly, yeah.
Anyway, so that wraps up all the good with this movie.
yeah.
So I say we go to the negatives. Now, I don't think there's a lot of negatives. I just think the main negative is that there is a lack of story. But then again, we mentioned multiple times that it's the event, not the story or the characters. Mm-hmm. So right away there, if I had to tell you one thing about this movie, there's very little story but that shouldn't really matter to you.
If I was to like describe this movie to a friend, I would literally just say dramatic recreation of the events of Dunkirk.
Yeah.
Which most
That's
people,
honestly what I would
don't
say.
even know.
Yeah, I'd never heard of Dunkirk before
Yeah.
this movie was announced.
Me neither.
I'm sure that's like something like huge over in Britain.
I've heard of it
I feel
before.
like that's like Britain's D-Day. You know? Not in terms of like
Like significance.
yeah, like significance, but like in the sense of like
It's like
we know D-Day as like a big engagement of like US like
It's like a reverse D-Day, because when we went on D-Day, it was just all the Americans going onshore. This is the reverse D-Day because it was all the British people coming offshore.
yeah, and like when I say D-Day, I mean like in terms of like I hate to use the term like popularity, but like in terms of just like it's like a very well-known battle on the US. You know, like we have a whole day dedicated to remembering it and stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like in England it would be like, oh, you know, Dunkirk. It's like this massive event. You know?
Yeah.
So like that's why it wouldn't really like resonate with us because no American soldiers were
It's
involved.
probably, like I said, like you just said, it's probably more known in England than it is here. Much like D-Day is more known here than probably there anyway.
That conveniently brings me to like my biggest negative of the film, which is that, like, as I mentioned before, like
This movie
it
is
is
British.
so British.
Yeah.
This movie, it's just like as a group of Americans who do in fact speak the English language, I can say like it is not easy to discern what these gentlemen are saying most of the time.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned before too, like there are parts in this movie where we're like, you know, we want to go home and have a cup of tea, but like it's like come on, you gotta enunciate sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's a
I
hard.
can't like I maybe understood like more like 70% of the words that were spoken.
Oh, I
maybe
would say
at
they're
that.
less. Yeah.
See, like, here's the thing, though. I feel like I can't fault the movie for doing that.
No,
You know, because it's like it's British people. You know.
no, yeah, but at the same time, it's like
Would a British person also understand this movie though?
I would think.
Yes.
I would hope
Probably.
so.
I would hope. Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, granted, like we still because you're not super reliant on like the characters and the dialogue. A lot of the movie is without dialogue. It doesn't really matter.
It also is like a very visual movie, you know, because in terms of dialogue, really all people are saying is plane or like torpedo, like in terms, you know, like very easy words pertaining to the situation.
Is it racist that we're trying to, that we're assuming that British people would just understand their own language?
No.
Fuck no.
Let's go run in the stream. What the fuck? No.
No.
Anyway.
Mom, no, what the fuck?
Wanna run in the street?
But no, I mean, like in terms of dialogue, it's not very complex, you know.
Yeah, like it's not a very dialogue heavy.
Really,
movie,
the most like dialogue we see is at the end of the movie when the kid's reading the article about like everything,
or even the bottom of the boat,
or the bottom of the
Or they're
boat.
hiding in the bottom of the boat. Yeah,
You know, there's not more than
because
maybe 2 minutes or
every time
2 minutes at a time.
Every time they're in the
dialogue.
air, it's more like you're just watching a dogfight happen and not people having a conversation on the airplane.
Yeah, for the most
different
part,
airplanes,
the air part is mostly silent, aside from the bullets and
the beginning part where they introduce like the guys on the plane and you hear Michael Caine's voice on the radio is probably the most dialogue in that entire story of the people in the air.
yeah,
And it's
Yeah,
only in the
pretty
first. It's only in the first sequence of that.
yeah, that and also when he gets when he has to land in the water.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, what's your fuel at?" Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm gonna try to land. Okay, good luck. And then it just
That's it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
It's the guy just trying to take down the other plane before it takes down other people.
Yeah. Point is, like, there's not a lot of dialogue in this movie, but from what there is, it is very hard to understand. But I feel like it's kind of like a gray area when you try to like detract from this movie, because they're British people, you know. This is that you can't Americanize this event, you know. We weren't even a part of this event, you know. So it's really that kind of gray area.
It is weird though, because if you think about it, it's like I'm not gonna lie, like part of me was like, I kind of wish I watched this with subtitles.
Me too. That was me the first time I saw this.
But then on the other hand, it's like, obviously if you're watching like a French film and it's all in French, like of course you're gonna watch it with subtitles. Amount of dialogue notwithstanding. So it's one of those, it's very gray and weird how it's like you almost feel like you walked out, it's like, oh man, I suck at English. But really it's like
the Queen's English.
Yeah, because
but
gotta go out speaking the King's.
Another negative that me and Paul had was, I'll let you take the reins on this one because you were the one who mentioned it first.
Well, I mean, and I feel like this pertains more to like our viewing in our humble little North Jersey theater. Was
the IMAX thing?
Yeah, our the aspect ratio was distracting.
The movie was smaller than the screen.
Yeah,
but I would say about like what, 10% maybe.
Well, the film, as we mentioned before, was shot in like the 70mm, like with IMAX cameras, which is like
wide.
Yeah, like it's a big deal. Yeah, and by virtue of that, our viewing of it on like a standard screen was a bit stretched, and it didn't really detract from the film that much, except I felt like the blemishes stood out a bit more than they would have. Like there was, like we even talked about it in the car, it was like there was one or two shots where like, somebody should have maybe checked the light meter on that, or like, somebody might have wanted to check the I keep forgetting like the word when it comes up on film, exposure. Yeah. So like, and again, I don't know if I can really fault the movie for that, or just like the fact that because it was kind of shot with like the IMAX in mind, it sort of diminishes the viewing of other people in other theaters.
And that kind of sucks though, because Christopher Nolan shoots his movies to be in IMAX. Yeah. I can't remember the last time a Chris Nolan movie wasn't shot. Maybe Memento was like the last movie he shot that
like his first
wasn't specifically, or no, I'm saying like his most like recent movie.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So like, probably like Memento would be like the last movie he shot that wasn't strictly for IMAX, because the movie after that was Batman Begins.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, and when I saw it for the first time, I saw it at Willowbrook. So like I had the pleasure of seeing it on like a much larger screen than here. Willowbrook, for people who don't know, is like is just like this big movie theater that we have by us.
If you ever went to any AMC movie theater,
Yeah.
it might be like half the size of that.
Yeah.
And it's just a bow tie. If you've been to any normal bow tie cinema, it's just that.
Mm-hmm. But point being is that it was a much larger screen than what we saw it on tonight. So like the aspect ratio wasn't very much a problem for me when I first saw it, but tonight I definitely did notice it, and I definitely did notice more of the exposure stuff, because like we were talking about that one scene at the end where Tom Hardy's standing in front of the sun, and the screen just assaults you with lens flares and overexposure and whatnot.
Yeah. I don't know if that would have been. Did you notice that as much when you saw it the first time, or do you think it was one of those like?
I see. Like, it's actually interesting though, because the first time I saw it, I thought that was a beautiful shot, but the second time, now when I see it, I'm like, all right, this is kind of like, it's kind of hurting my eyes. Just the assault of the lens flare.
I wonder though if that's like kind of. Because you know, like the first time you see a movie, you're always like kind of very taken away by it.
Yeah.
I always wonder if that's like. Is it because you just saw it the first time, or is it because like you actually noticed it? For me, I actually noticed it, but it was because just the ratio was off to begin with. I was like kind of noticing more of that shit.
I will admit though, like there are movies that I've seen where like I've just been swept away by it. And I will say Dunkirk was a movie that I was highly invested in the first time I saw it, and I wasn't really zoning in on many flaws. Like when I saw Star Wars: The Force Awakens for the first time, I viewed it with a very biased opinion. But on subsequent viewings, I noticed, okay, this is a little, disappointing, or this was whatever. Still love the film, but I do acknowledge that it has some problems. So when watching this movie, that kind of that initial hype that I had in the beginning really died down a little bit. So I started like zoning in on more stuff, and I guess that shot that I was mentioning with Tom Hardy is something that I zoned in on, and on the subsequent rewatch. So, yeah. Any other negatives? Besides the lack of story, some
lack of story and too British.
But even those negatives, like to be fair, I feel are like they were things the movie kind of had to do, considering how it was. So I mean, could you really fault it for it? It's more of like based on popular taste.
Yeah.
Something that people would be a bit turned off on. So yeah.
All right. So.
Yeah. So I want to slap a rating on this bad boy.
Any nitpicks or anything? Like any kind of small notes or anything?
After we slap a rating on this, I want to ask you guys a bonus question.
Okay.
Okay. So let's slap a rating on this bad boy.
All right. So what's your rating for Dunkirk, Paul?
So
give me a little.
It said in the movie. It said in the movie that Winston Churchill wanted at least 30,000 of those boys, potentially 45,000 of those boys off the beach. They ended up getting about 400,000 off of there, or something like that. 300,000. I would save 9 out of 10 of those. No, 8 out of 10 of those boys.
Okay. I would say I would shoot down about 7 out of 10 German airplanes from the sky.
Okay, that's a good one.
Career for this shit.
What?
Yours is always the worst.
Because I'm notoriously bad at it.
This is the worst. This is like it's gonna be the worst one
yeah,
too.
you know what? I would done 8 Kirks out of 10.
I See, I told you it was bad.
What's the problem? You don't like me dunking Kirks over there? Dunning Kirks.
So we rounded it out to like a C+.
Oh, it's about a C plus. I would say.
I feel like it deserves more than that though.
Technically, it deserves
but
an
like,
A+.
see, like
But the
8,
fact that there's
and
no
a 7.5.
story, if they had a story, if it had a comprehensible story, I think it would have been like probably the best movie of the year.
I'll say this much: if it was any longer, I think I would have been lost. I think I would have been
Not
like,
lost.
I
don't know what they would add.
I think if it was any longer, I would have been like, this is boring.
I just want to know what they would add with that extra runtime.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is like it was like I'm glad it was only 90 minutes. Like
one thing though I will say about this movie is that how can I put this? I feel like you could not have cut anything out of this movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like this movie was the perfect runtime. Everything that was shown for perfect. Like was shown because it worked.
No bullshit.
No bullshit. No filler. Nothing.
One other thing too that we mentioned in the car before was this is the perfect dad movie.
Yeah, this is
not a perfect dad movie, but a really good one.
This is a good dad movie.
Yeah.
My dad would probably fall asleep during this, but
so would ours, but probably.
I feel like he would fall asleep, but he'd be like, "Oh, it was good. It was good."
Yeah.
I was re-listening to our Nice Guys review, and you were saying that this is like the perfect dad movie. I actually did rewatch it with my dad, and he loved it.
Yeah,
I was like, "Fuck." There we go.
That's a great dad.
I love that movie. Though.
No,
I fucking love that movie.
The Nice Guys is one of the most underrated movies.
Thank you.
So
So
good.
fucking good.
All those movies that guy makes.
Shane Black.
Yeah. I'd like to rewatch them all over again because.
Well, you got Kiss Kiss Bang Bang,
which is just a fun
I love that
fucking
movie.
time.
I love that movie too.
There's Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3.
I can say not watch Iron Man 3 again.
Iron Man 3's fun.
I liked Iron Man 3. The one part I didn't like about Iron Man 3 was the Gwyneth Paltrow bullshit where she gets all the suit and she saves Tony.
Oh, I thought that was kind of cool because of the extremist shit. I don't know. I think it's very Shane Black because
I just don't like Gwyneth Paltrow.
That's fair.
So
Anyway.
any less of her is fine with me.
That's fair.
So.
But whatever.
All right. So what's that bonus question have for
Yeah,
us, Paul?
hit us with that bonus question.
All right, my bonus question for you guys is, what's your favorite Christopher Nolan movie?
Inception.
Mine is The Prestige.
That is a good one.
I would say The Prestige or Dark Knight, but like
I feel like Dark Knight's too simple of an answer though.
you could answer it if you want.
I want to say Dark Knight.
That's fair.
Dark Knight's a perfectly acceptable answer. It's a fantastic movie.
It's one of the best movies.
It's one of the best movies ever made. Absolutely.
That's so
I don't know. I love Inception. Really, first time I saw it, I saw it in theaters. I saw it again in theaters. Bought the Blu-ray. I love that movie.
I never gave it like due diligence.
Dark Knight Rises gets a lot of shit too.
Dark Knight Rises does. I feel like Dark Knight Rises gets a lot of shit that it doesn't deserve.
Yeah.
I will give it
fun as hell.
I agree, and I will give it though that whole Talia al Ghul bullshit was really stupid. But as a whole, I think that movie's
it has its flaws. Like I like similar to Deej's Star Wars 7 like rewatch. I have rewatched Dark Knight Rises a couple times. I understand that the opinion that Talia al Ghul's death is very bad. I agree with that. It's very stupid.
That's what I
It
think
just felt
about.
forced and rushed.
Yes.
That's what I think about every time I see it. It's just like she literally goes like. Bleh.
But like she was like the Bane shit, like where he's like, oh, he just sounds stupid. Like it just kind of works for him now.
I just wish they made. I just wish they stuck. I think Tom Hardy was a fine Bane. I think he was good. I just wish they, made him like. Well, he's Mexican, right, or Spanish?
He's supposed to be like
in
Hispanic
in the
culture.
comics. He's
Well, I just wish they made him Hispanic. Because like,
That's fair.
would it really matter? If Bane was Hispanic, would that movie have been any different?
Probably not. I mean,
Right?
You might have to
sound
fuck with his
different.
accent a bit,
Yeah.
but like.
Yeah, or I mean, just like
What
change
if
up the
was Tom
mask. a
Hardy
little.
trying to have a Hispanic accent?
He was.
What? No. What if that was the case? What if that was Tom Hardy's Hispanic
I
accent?
was born in the darkness. No, it's British.
Funny then. Oh yeah.
I will say though that the when he breaks his back,
Yeah.
that like the Nightfall cover. Primo.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Primo.
The whole bit.
But, like,
Probably my
the
favorite
whole-
part of that movie.
I feel like the thing was like with Bane. I feel like he's just like one of the top 10 villains, like one of the best villains of this decade.
Really.
Yeah, I feel
In
like that's
general or in
it.
super
Of this
movies?
decade.
Oh wait, you mean like Bane, like in general, or like Tom Hardy's Bane?
Tom Hardy's Bane.
Or like in superhero movies, or like just in general.
Tom Hardy's Bane, just in this movie.
No, as like one of the
Yeah,
best
like
villains.
general villains of in all of cinema, or like
Yeah.
specifically superheroes.
You would put her up there with like the fucking wife from Gone Girl.
I really like the wife.
I watched Gone Girl with my
Gone Girl's
dad.
fucking fun as hell. It's a great movie.
Yeah, Gone Girl's amazing. I watched.
Not
I
as
watched
good.
Gone
She's
Girl
not,
with my dad.
he's not as good, but like he can still be top 10 and not be close to the wife from Gone Girl. He can be like 9 and she can be like 2 or something.
That's a very different type of villain, though.
That's not the case, obviously, but still.
I feel like that's. Now you're getting into like this whole
Yeah.
topic of like what antagonist is, and like if a villain is an antagonist and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
I would think that it would be.
Yeah, I feel like though.
I actually no, I don't think there's any like way around that whatsoever.
What do you mean?
Like the villain is the antagonist, unless it's like something some shit with like Megamind, and yeah, it's.
I was thinking of Megamind as
And yeah,
well.
the villain is the antagonist.
Megamind's
unless
underrated
it's
too.
unless it's Megamind
Wreck-It Ralph, they're villains technically.
or Wreck-It Ralph. But Wreck-It Ralph's
So
a
wait, are
fucking
we saying
child.
like villain as a protagonist?
Better yet,
No,
why,
'cause, like-
why is there a villain movie that the villain trying to be good that's not a child intended movie?
Is there one?
I don't think there is.
Well, there's a new Venom movie. Well, I don't think he's gonna be trying to be good though.
Super by James Gunn. That's like kind of
James-
a weird
Super's
example.
Super's a good.
Where that's a weird example.
that's
though.
just a good movie.
It is a great movie.
It's just a good movie.
A
Yeah.
good movie.
Oh God, who doesn't love watching Ellen Page rape Wayne Wilson?
Yeah, but why not?
Yeah, why not? And on that note,
I meet devil.
and on that note, I think this wraps up this hour-plus long episode of the Cinema Dash.
This is an hour.
This is as I'm looking at my clock right now. It's an hour, 2 minutes, and 30 seconds.
I think
Shit.
it's
I think there's
maybe
more.
that.
I think it's more than enough because if we go like an extra half hour, we get the movie again.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we're fine. All right. Hey everybody,
So-
thanks so much for watching as always. And Paul, thanks so much
Yeah,
for
thank you
being on
very
again.
much again for being in the house while we're recording.
Hey, anytime, guys. I love it.
No, literally anytime you want to come on, you're more than welcome. So.
Woo!
I
I
feel
actually have a lot of fun doing this. So
I feel,
Awesome.
like, I feel like when we have you on, or like really anyone that has some kind of background in film, it turns out to be a much better
I agree.
podcast.
I always I like your one friend that you had on a couple times as well. You guys saw what did you see with him?
Ian?
Was it
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Ian, we
Yeah.
saw
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ian's cool.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Hopefully, hopefully when I bring this to school, some of my like TV friends can hop
yeah,
on and do some
definitely,
stuff.
definitely.
So,
But yeah,
which
Yeah.
is an open invitation if you're listening. So,
so yeah,
Anyway.
Paul, thanks so much
Yeah,
again
thank
for
you again.
coming on. And so yeah, let's
Yeah, so-
close this out.
I'm Gabs,
And I'm Deej.
and this is what our outro looks like.